The thoughts and opinions are those of each individual voice on the podcast and do not necessarily represent the policies of Cedar Valley High School.
Welcome to Aviator Airwaves, the official podcast of Cedar Valley High School, where we keep you updated on everything in the halls, on the fields, in the classrooms, and beyond. I'm Derek Reynolds, one of the assistant principals here at Cedar Valley, and we're here to spotlight the stories, achievements, and events that make Cedar Valley soar. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and share the show with your fellow aviators. If you've got a story, a shout out, or an event we should cover, reach out. After all, this is your podcast. Before we jump in, let's go around and introduce who's on the mic with us today. First of all, I'm Derek Reynolds. Once again, I'm one of the assistant principals here at Cedar Valley.
I'm Katie Mayer, a PLC coach.
I am Kira Durfee. I teach English 10 and English 11.
And I am Jennifer Reynolds. I teach English 10 and English 10 honors.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys could join us all today. Now, Katie just mentioned that she's a PLC coach, and first and foremost, I don't know that everybody knows what that is. So how would you define what a PLC coach is in a school?
So it is a professional learning community coach, and I help with anything and everything, it feels like, but from team collaboration, working together, to individual work, just anything that can support the learning process for students. That's my job.
Awesome. So you are a PLCC.
Yes.
Yes. We'll change that acronym for you. So
technically, yep.
Well, awesome. So we're the last couple hours before fall break. So does anybody have any exciting plans over fall break here?
I heard you're going car shopping.
Yeah.
Mr. Reynolds.
Super exciting. Actually, I've bought 2 cars previously over fall break. And so,
now.
This is now tradition other than I'd rather be doing other things, I think. So this one's more of a necessity, unfortunately. So, and it's not a car for me. So that gets a little more tricky. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. What are you guys doing?
You know, I'm currently in grad school, so I am going to be doing a lot of homework.
Oh.
But it will help. I'll catch up. So
Yeah.
that'll be good.
It's a good time to do that too.
I plan to break pretty hard. I would like to not do much school, like working and things like that. But I know that will change the closer I get to next week. And then I'm going to dominate Topgolf next week.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
Yeah, you
Yep.
are.
Yep. No, I'm looking forward to Topgolf, and I'm just staying home this fall break and maybe taking my kids to the zoo. But other than that, nothing else.
What's the maybe? Is there like
Maybe, it's blue lights, so it's nighttime, and that's just a debatable thing if you want to take toddlers and babies that late out. That, it's risky.
You'll see how you feel
never
at
know
the time.
what you're going to get.
Hey, we're going to have to follow up on that
Yeah.
after the break. So, okay, well, fantastic. Let's go ahead and taxi down the runway and take off for this week's current events. Now, there's not a lot going on with fall break, but we're going to talk a little bit today about just engagement within the classroom, some of the things that we do as teachers, and maybe any advice that we can share with other teachers or just the community so they know kind of how we do things here at Cedar Valley. So let's go first and foremost. If you don't mind, let's have you tell a little bit about your story. What brought you into education? Why did you want to become a teacher? Kira, can we start with you and kind of have you go through that a little bit?
100%. That was a long journey for me. I actually always wanted to be a teacher in elementary school. And then as I went through the route of college and kids and figuring that out, I actually, I started in elementary school and I worked my way up. I really loved working as a 3rd grade and a 6th grade teacher. It was so fantastic. And coming into high school, I am so glad that I have that background because I feel like that helps me see the kids a little differently than if I would have started in high school right away. And this is not the route that everybody needed to have taken. I just learned a lot when I was an elementary school teacher, and I'm grateful that I could bring that today into the high school classroom. And I have to say that it's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, and it is the best job I've ever had.
That's
teaching
amazing.
High school kids.
That is amazing. And it's Kira's first year here at Cedar Valley, and we have loved having her here.
I love being here.
Not only as admin and the faculty, but the comments we get from students are just amazing for what you do for them in the classroom.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Jen, what about you? What brought you into education?
I cannot remember a time when I did not want to be a teacher. I have just always wanted to. I come from a family of educators. And both my parents were teachers as well, and I just
I didn't know that.
always was passionate about being a teacher. And so, yeah, but I graduated many years ago when I was a youngin and taught junior high for a while, and stayed home for 12 years, and then I came back to high school after that. So I have taught 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. Never taught seniors yet. But I've been back, I don't know how many years I've been teaching now.
That's
12,
amazing.
12 maybe
You're
total.
amazing.
But anyway, but yeah, I love it. It's one of those things that I felt called to do, and I do really love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, with a last name like Reynolds, it seems like a good educational name. So
It's a great name.
we'll take it. My dad was an educator for 36 years too. So, Reynolds are representing apparently. I like that. So, Katie, I know you're the PLC coach right now, but you came into education too. Talk a little bit about your journey to get there.
So similar to you and Jen, my mom is an educator. She did elementary, a principal, and now she's a director. So it's just been a long whole life of education, that I've been involved with. But I always just loved school no matter what. School was never easy for me. I wasn't that student. I always had to work really hard, but I loved the learning process, and I loved the environment of being in school and being with my friends. And high school was just a big highlight when I look back on it. And I actually went into college, and I was a student athlete. And going into an education program as an athlete in college is practically impossible. That I didn't take the normal route to become a teacher. I tried to talk myself out of it, actually, because I thought, I'm going to get this degree while being a student athlete, and I'm going to, not become a teacher. And so I did that. I went into the private sector for a couple of years, and I was like, this is just not what I want to do. I just feel like I need to be a teacher. And so I ended up going the kind of non-traditional route to do it. But just seeing my mom, growing up, she was always home in summers, always had the same breaks. And it was just something that I always wanted to kind of do as well. And so just having that influence really brought me to where I am. And especially my content too, Mr. Butler at Carbon High still, he teaches health, and he was just, that class was my favorite. And that's why I teach what I teach too.
That's
today.
awesome.
So
That's awesome. Student athlete. Do we have any other student athletes here? Okay.
I
Hey,
got a
1 out
lot
of
of
4.
choir awards.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Vocal athletics.
Yeah, vocal athletics.
That's great stuff.
I was a band nerd.
Yeah, I love it. I love nerds.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit later about this, but Katie brought up a great point. Is it Mr. Duncan? Is that right? Butler. Wow, that was bad. Hopefully he's listening. But at the same time, there's a lot of teachers that do great things in a building, and they don't realize what they mean for certain students and stuff. So we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But we want to make sure that teachers feel recognized and appreciated for all the great things they do. And we're going to talk about some ways that we can do that. So from the get-go, when Cedar Valley High School opened, Courtney had a vision. Courtney Johnson, that's our principal. And she wanted to stand out as a school. And so one thing she was adamant she wanted to do is bring in an aviation program. So she had a fixed wing and rotor CTE pathway from the beginning where kids can graduate with associates in aviation science. Recently, we've added some drone classes. So we have a couple unmanned aerial, I can't remember what the term is, but yeah, they're good classes that are helping kids to be able to code and create drones. We also have a freight farm. We have our own soda shop called Jet Fuel. So Courtney was very particular about the branding that she's done within the school. Kira, maybe just coming into our school as a first-year teacher here, what are some of the things that you noticed immediately about Cedar Valley when you came in as far as the branding and some of the things that Courtney's done?
That's a good question. And I think for sure, one of the first things I noticed was the option for students to take classes that may not have been offered in may not be offered to other high schools, or like in the past historically offered to other high schoolers, especially the chance to do welding and woodworking and aviation. And I'm just down the hallway from the drone classes, so I see them out in the hallway doing all of their cool things, and I'm always like, I want to do that, and so offering these chances for these students to have a place to feel seen and to feel safe and to be a part of something that where they feel like they belong. I've been really impressed by that since I started here. Even when I would come in periodically last year and sub, I was really impressed with the ability to offer those services to students so that they could feel welcome and safe.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately the most important thing, is just make sure that we're doing things for the kids to make them feel welcome all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all great. In the Commons of Cedar Valley, we have a plane basically hung there, which is awesome. You don't see that anywhere else that I know of when you come into the Commons of a high school. But let's talk about a little bit of in the classroom, and we can even extend it to within the school. But what are some of those keys that help us in creating those strong relationships with students? Katie, maybe talk a little bit about what teachers do, or things that you've seen as a PLC coach, things you see teachers do to build those relationships with students.
Well, there's a lot of just natural processes that happen to build those relationships. Just, getting to know kids, getting to know any detail about them. What I would always try is, to learn one thing about them, whether we could talk about baseball or their car or something. And sometimes it would be things I had no idea about, but they felt like that's what they wanted to share with me. And so then I'd look into it, and I feel like we would be able to kind of build that relationship from there. Another thing that I see a lot is relating content to be relevant to the kids, and trying to use current technology in order to kind of gain that trust and gain that engagement within the students for the teacher. And so I think there's a lot of things that are teaching strategies that we can implement that most of our teachers are doing, if not all of them. And but a lot of it just comes with that natural personality that I think teachers have, that in order to try to work together with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this year also, the state's implemented the new cell phone policy, basically. And it's interesting to see what happens in classrooms and in the Commons with that new policy. I see a lot more interaction between kids. I mean, last year, I feel like I'd go to the Commons and I'd see kids standing in a circle, and you'd think they would be, relating, talking to each other, but they're all looking down at their phone. And this year, even though they're allowed to, during class breaks, use their cell phones, I see kids interacting with each other more. And I think that's a telltale sign that, maybe we got too far one way with the cell phones. But we won't get too much into that at this point. But I have noticed it's helped quite a bit. Kira, one thing I've noticed about you is you love to stand at your door and greet kids, whether they come in or out. And I was amazed once I was walking up the hall and kids were leaving your class, and you called them each by name, gave them all knuckles or high fives or whatever. But it was amazing. Talk to me about where that practice started and how that's been beneficial for you and your students.
Thank you. I started that actually. I've always stood outside my classroom and greeted my kids ever since I was in elementary, but I went to one of the Celebration of Learning days at Frontier when my daughter was there, and Mr. Bailey, who was a health teacher there, actually, and a lot of the kids know who he is.
Jordan Bailey, he's awesome, yeah.
He's so awesome, and he was... my kids were telling me that he would have them say one positive thing about themselves every time they walked into the classroom. And I was like, I feel like the best thing as teachers that we can do is see what other teachers are doing that works and implement it. I think that's one of the most positive things in a collaborative culture. And I said, well, I'm doing that. I mean, I have 6th graders. These are not so far removed from 7th graders, And so I started implementing that in my outside of my classroom. And at first it's hard. If the kids don't know what to say or what to do, it's hard to say something, positive about themselves if they're not, if they're not prepared. And watching that transition over the years as they started saying something positive, and they would come to school and they said, I'm happy, or I'm creative, or I'm excited to be here, I'm whatever. And I saw them I saw not just as students, right? They're students, they go to our school, they are a part of our community, but they are also individual and they are their own person. And that was a very powerful connection for me as a teacher, because I didn't want to lose that when I came to high school. I didn't want to forget about them, their individuality. But I have to say, when I came to start subbing at Cedar Valley last year, every English teacher stands in the hallway and greets their students. And I knew in that moment, the first time I saw that this was the team I wanted to be a part of. This was before there were any jobs open. I thought, if I were to teach again, it would be with this team of teachers who stands in the hallway and greets the kids every day when they walk in. Every student needs their name said to them by someone every day. And I will die on that hill.
Yep.
And I need them to know, I don't know, it even makes me a little emotional thinking about it. They need to have somebody who loves them regardless of their background, who cares about them regardless if they have anybody else to talk to. And so if they are going to come into my classroom, they get a hello from me and a goodbye from me every day, because they need to know that I care about them and they need to know that I love them and that I am there to support them. And I know other teachers in this school do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for that example, and knowing that other teachers do that as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing when we go up and down the halls just to see how many teachers try to make that connection right at the doorway. It's a great place and a great time to put the student in a mindset that they're here to learn and there's somebody that cares about them. And ultimately, once they have those things, they can achieve great things. So I'm actually glad you brought up Mr. Bailey. So I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but he started mid-year and it was a really tough situation. And I just thought, I don't know how this guy's going to build a relationship with his kids. He's coming into a really tough situation mid-year. That's a really tough start for any teacher. I think he was a brand new teacher.
For sure.
But he just jumped right in, and he got to the point that, when we'd have our student talent show, he would participate in them, and he would get on his unicycle, and he would juggle, and he would do headstands, and you're like, what can this guy not do?
Yes, he is.
But he is amazing, and that's the thing. It's so great to have so many feeder schools or feeder schools with so many great teachers as well that help build these kids up to who they become when they come to Cedar Valley. So
It's so true.
Besides just the classroom, we have a lot of other opportunities for kids to feel that sense of belonging within our school. One thing we have clubs, and there's quite a few clubs. I think I counted 23 today. Of different clubs that are offered this year. So we have an Ed Rising Club, which is teaching as a profession, FBLA, FFA, Math Club, Powerlifting, TSA. The list goes on, but we try to have something for pretty much all kids that have an interest in something. And really the way clubs come about is that students go to a teacher and say, hey, I want to have this club at the school. And so teachers or students really initiate the process for the most part, which is really important, I think. And so I love seeing that kids have a place. They always feel like they have a place for them and their group of friends or whatever. I know you guys are both club advisors. Maybe talk a little bit about the clubs you're involved in, and you get a chance to kind of brag about it a little bit here.
Well, I am one of the advisors for the National Honor Society, which, that's a national organization, clubs at every high school in the nation. But I think the thing that this club and any club really does is it gives students a place to belong, right? It gives them a group of people to say, hey, these are some of my people. I have a place here. I belong here. And that's why getting involved in a club of any kind is so important. The thing I love about National Honor Society is it is a service-based club. So I think we spend our time really meaningfully, always trying to serve the school community or even our greater community. And obviously that's great to see the work they do. Last year there was a food drive. We did blankets for hospitals, different things like that.
That's awesome.
They do some really cool things, but I think what's even more powerful is what's happening amongst the students as they're working together on those projects, right? They are amongst peers who are also I don't know, have similar goals and want to be involved in something good and give back. And so it's really cool to see that and see students kind of find their place that they belong. Everybody in high school needs their place, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's important. Carrie, you want to talk about your club?
Sure. So one of my former students from elementary school actually asked me to head up the Native American club for the school. And as it was my first year, I was like, I don't know, like, what do I have to do? You know, and just because I was overwhelmed, and she was like, no, I got it taken care of. And she is a strong leader, and she is so impressive. And so that's the club that I'm heading, and I am super excited to like learn a lot about it, because it's a culture and heritage that is so beautiful and powerful. And we have some very strong representatives in our school that are part of this association. And so I'm excited to learn more about it just alongside everybody else.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
That's awesome. And it's great to see kids involved in so many different things. Even the different groups between the sports teams, like the
Yeah.
band, the performing arts, aviation program, we have robotics, you have photography, this class that's in this room with the video and stuff like that. There are so many different things that kids find passion for and are involved in, and it's so great to see. What do we do about those kids, maybe, especially in a classroom, they just don't engage? What do you do when you see that kid sitting by themselves or they don't engage? How do we encourage them to be part of the process and part of what we're doing? Jen, maybe you take that one a little bit.
Sure. Well, the truth is I think the really most impactful teachers are the ones that can build that classroom culture,
Yeah.
right? That we were talking about clubs just now, but that same sort of like feeling of unity and belonging can happen in a classroom. A2 English 10 can become a place where the kids feel happy to be. They feel like they belong. They have support. I think there's a lot of things that can go into that. I think the first and foremost, the teacher has to care, and that has to be so evident to the students. Now, a caring teacher does not necessarily mean an easy teacher, right? Like, I think my class is demanding, but I think also that every student knows that I am there to help them succeed. Like, I want them to not just get a good grade, but I want them to actually understand this concept or how to do this skill. And that I will fight for them to succeed. I also, all teachers do things like this, but I'm really mindful of where students sit. I assign seats. I mix it up often. They have to get to know each other. And it's easy in English class. I'm sure you know this, Kira, that English class is so discussion based. We talk so much. We have to talk to each other so much in class that they just have to get to know each other. But there are those kids who have a hard day, or they just come in already being like, I hate English. I've had 10 years of English and I'm never good at it, or whatever. I don't know. You kill them with kindness. you're there. You're their cheerleader. And I have a student from last year that comes to mind that would come in and put his head down every day. And without fail, every day, I pull up a chair and I'd be like, "Are you okay? What do you need? Do you need some? Do you need a candy bar? Do you need some water? Oh, do you need a pencil? You don't have this packet? I would not get on his case. I wasn't yelling at him, but I also didn't let him just put his head down.
And she is so good at that. I came and observed her once, and she is like, she is there for them. And I'm sorry for interrupting, Jen, but she is a great example of making sure that they know that she is always present for them.
Well, funny you said that too, because I was actually in her class and saw that whole dynamic of her checking on that student. I don't know if it's a student, I guess I should say.
Oh,
but
was that this year?
yes.
Okay, I was talking about a student from last year.
Oh, gotcha.
But
Well,
tell me more, Katie.
No.
I don't remember this.
No, but just like checking on the student. And I think the big thing overall is just letting the kids know that they're seen, whether
Yes.
they're heads
100%.
down or, walking through the door, whatever it is. Both of you have been prime examples of that, and it's just really great to see.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other amazing thing about it is it's not just the teachers. Like, I know teachers are superstars, but at the same time, we have a lot of students that step up for their peers too.
100%.
Sometimes when we can't reach kids, it's amazing to see if you ask one of your kids, or sometimes they just notice, they just have good hearts and they notice these other kids that are struggling, and
Yeah.
they'll become friends or a mentor for this student. And I've seen that over the years, and friends are so important to each of these kids. And so for those kids to take the initiative to find kids that are in need and help them out, that's fantastic to see.
There is this cool kid. Sorry for interrupting.
You're
I
good.
apologize. There's this cool kid, and he's not in any of my classes, so I need to learn his name, but I see him often, and he's this incredible kid, and he walks with his friends to class, and he always gives them a little pep talk, like, hey, you can do this. You need this class. You need this. You can finish it out, because if you don't, then you're going to be, he goes, you need this for your life. You need this. And I've seen this in multiple situations all over the school. I don't know why I'm always in the same places. And I always try to tell him, he also works in our community as well. And I am so impressed by his little pep talks for his friends. We need him. We need people who take that initiative, who are like, yes, you can do this. You can be here. You can accomplish this hard thing. And I am just so impressed by him and by other students who are, helping and choosing, because sometimes it is hard to be at school.
Yeah.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's amazing. I want to see this kid now.
oh, he's awesome. I need to learn his name.
Go ahead.
I will just say, though, I will just second the fact that the Cedar Valley student community is phenomenal.
Yes.
These kids do step up for each other in a lot of ways. And sometimes my only job as a teacher is just put them at the same table. And I know that certain people will take care of others. I'm so impressed. I think we have extraordinary students.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you learn the backstory of some of these kids and how hard it is for them to actually come to school. So when they actually show up, you're amazed that not only they show up, but they're trying to engage and trying to look out for other people when their life might not be that great at the moment. So
Absolutely.
we also try to celebrate some of the great things that staff does, and we've tried to create ideas and things that we can do that make teachers or help teachers to feel more valued and appreciated. And sometimes we forget about that. So we've done some fun things as a staff to kind of bring that together. And one thing we do is we do tailgates before the football, and I think they've done a few with baseball and stuff like that. But where we bring some food in for the teachers before a football game, and it's just a good setting. We have them all sit together in one of the end zones. We've tried to do some treats on our teacher work days. We try to treat teachers with the jet fuel on occasion and stuff like that.
We always love food.
Katie's been really good this year, doing teacher spotlights. So getting into the rooms to recognize the teachers. So we'll, the admin and PLC coaches will go in there and do that. We had a guest speaker in here, Ben Kerr, recently, who gave his life story. There's going to be a movie coming out about him, I think in January. But we do a lot of these things, and we also listen to teachers too. One of the issues last year, teachers were worried about kids in the hall all the time, and we've come up with Minga this year, which is a digital hall pass system to help keep kids in class, and we have accountability for when they're out of class. As far as behaviors or some of the attendance issues, we came up with True North this year, which is a program for kids that just aren't going to class or participating the way they should be in class. So we have another environment for them to work in. Katie, maybe talk to us just a little bit too about team time. I know that's something that you do as a PLC coach and provide for teachers to feel that support, that they can work with their colleagues to better the instruction that they do. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. So team time is a whole district-wide thing. Like every school is doing this as well. I just support it here at Cedar Valley. But it pretty much is we get your teacher a sub for the day and they go up into a classroom and it's just a whole day of working, collaborating, and just trying to prep and see what we can do to just support the students overall and how we can fix assessments or plan activities. It's just 8 hours of kind of undivided attention in order to help the learning process overall. And we get them lunch and try to, have a little fun as well. But it's just a really cool
Sounds
thing
lovely.
that is district wide. And so it's a big emphasis of, and research proven or research backed that it does work, and collaboration is essential in the learning process.
Yeah. And Katie also has been tasked this year with helping to help teachers feel celebrated for the most part. So I talked about the teacher spotlights, but Katie is always looking out for teachers because she's always coming to me with these new ideas of things that we can do. And we don't want to spoil anything today, but there's always things that we're talking about and working towards helping teachers feel, that appreciation for the great things they do
Thank you,
every day
Katie.
in and out. So,
As a new teacher, I have to say Katie has been such a support and standard, and I've been so grateful to have her.
Thank you.
And my team, Jen. Don't be sad.
Not sad. Katie is amazing. And I will say I have felt appreciated.
Yeah.
So thank you, Katie.
No, I'm so happy to do
The
it.
teacher spotlight thing was fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about that. Not even my aspect of it, but just going into classrooms. Pretty much, we're bringing everybody their favorite jet fuel that day. The teacher spotlight, and we're hearing from students the things they love about their teacher, and it has been wonderful. Like it just brings so much joy to be able to kind of organize this, because there's so many great things that students are saying that we're not forcing them to say, but they probably wouldn't tell you these things unless we
for
asked.
sure.
And so it's been so great to kind of hear that. We've had teachers cry, and it just makes my day that they just feel so appreciated and seen by their students as well.
Yeah, there was one part when Ben Kerr was here that he asked students, who is that teacher that made a difference for you? He talked about his life and a teacher that made a difference for him, but he asked, who is that teacher that made a difference for you? And he actually let some students, basically volunteer to talk about that teacher. And so as he went around with the mic and talked to those kids, it was amazing to hear those things that those students had to say. And that's what we talked about earlier. A lot of these teachers don't actually hear those things. So we're trying to figure out some ways to make sure that message gets from students to teachers. So that's one thing Katie's been working on.
And more coming. We have
More
in
coming.
the works.
Yeah, we're gonna.
I will eagerly anticipate it.
I know.
It'll be overboard by the time we're done. I shouldn't say that.
It is cool to hear, it's definitely different from elementary in just the terms of like when students, I feel like sometimes showing up to class is like their way of saying like, I respect you. I am here
You're
for
my
you.
favorite teacher.
Like I'm coming.
Showed
And I didn't think at the beginning of the year when I started that I would have known that. But like now I'm like, okay, we're here. You're doing well. You're, like we're growing. And I'm just so grateful when I see them in my class, and it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're always trying to support teachers, help them to feel, that they're heard. And so we always try to send teachers to conferences and workshops and support them with this team time and such. And ultimately, we want teachers to be lifelong learners. We want them to improve themselves, never get complacent with where they're at. And so we try to support teachers wherever we can in their own personal goals and growth too. So it's been really good. So, maybe we're kind of coming down to the end of this, but talk a little bit, maybe anybody that wants to pipe in here, just talk about other ideas you have for building that student connection or engagement. I know, Jen, one thing that you do is you have formed a team. You came to us as admin last year and you said, hey, are you okay if I form a team to talk a little bit about student engagement? And you formed a team, and honestly, there's a whole plan for this professional learning series of monthly meetings.
She's awesome.
And some of the great things you do. So maybe talk a little bit about why you wanted to create that team and kind of where you're going with it, the vision of that.
Well, and just to be clear, this is not a me thing at all. This is something that came from leadership and steering committee as maybe a need. Like, how can we as teachers, improve. We all, I think, are doing great things, but we can always get better. And I think the real beauty of this professional learning series this year is that we have teachers from all different departments and parts of the school that are presenting their expertise to us. We have such a wealth of knowledge amongst the faculty here, but sometimes that goes untapped. And we've intentionally tried to include some of those really outstanding teachers that we don't hear from often, And so each month we have a slightly different topic. For example, in what month are we in? October. In October, we learned from Brian Anderson about building student relationships and how we can increase engagement that way. As we all know, he is an expert on that topic. And then, coming up in November, we have Ben Bird, who's going to talk about clarity and how that, clarity in our teaching can really improve student engagement. And he is an expert on that topic. And so it has been just this really lovely experience to just meet with other teachers. This is not a mandatory thing. This is completely opt-in, volunteer, come if you want. But this group of teachers who have been showing up and discussing these topics and learning from each other, it is definitely improving my practice as a teacher. And it's been really cool to learn from each other in that way.
Yeah. And when you talk about the wealth of knowledge, I noticed in December, you also have a panel of students coming in.
Yes.
You talk
That's
about
so
experts. Cool. Yeah. They probably know what helps them engage and stuff like that. So I think that is amazing to bring in students as part of this process too.
Yeah. We're really excited for that one.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's going to be fun. And I'm excited to learn with that professional learning series and the things that we do with engagement. And I know you're super humble, but I appreciate what you've done with that team and, everybody that's been willing to participate. I was able to go to the last meeting for a little bit, and it was just fun to see, Brian up there teaching, but at the same time, just how it was received and some of the comments that were made were greatly appreciated. So... but I think we're just about out of time for today, but I just wanted to thank you all for engaging and being on the show today. We hope to continue to do these podcasts. And like we said before, if there's anything or from any of you listeners or also anybody that's here on the mic today, if you guys have future ones that you want to talk about, we're happy to engage in those conversations as well. But thank you for your time today. And it's a great day to be an aviator, not only because we just love our school, but because it's the day before fall break. So we'll take that as a win. And we'll plan on seeing you guys next week. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.